So let's look at this in actual practice. The first invitation that we have today is so classic and so great for little children. So you can see here that I have a huge box. Your child would easily fit inside of this box. And I've cut off the sides of the box just to make it a little bit more friendly, but you absolutely don't need to do that. Some children will love to take this away from art and make it into hiding inside a box. And we know, I mean, boxes are a bit of like an old joke, right? Because whenever you buy them toys, they like the toy and love the box. It's like the most loved thing in childhood. So we're going to use this idea and place it together with an idea of showing your child that they have creative agency and that they can be artistic and creative. So the first way that I would introduce this would be just with crayons. You can see here we've got a couple of different crayons. Generally we say little tools for little hands. So small crayons are great for younger children. And again, I want you to notice that this isn't like 20 crayons and they're all spilling over. It's just a couple, and that's all they really need. And I would just put that in the box. This is a great thing to put out when you're wanting to chop some vegetables for dinner and see how your child goes with those. What's really nice about the box idea is that it's very contained. Obviously with younger children we are worried about are noticing a couple of concerns when it comes to doing art. The one is that we don't want our walls covered in paint and crayon, and I completely understand that. And until you feel confident that your child has established an understanding around that, make sure that you're using materials that are washable and keeping it in some kind of a boundary that you also can feel confident. So for some children, you may also worry about using crayons in terms of if they're going to be going in their mouth. I would always just stay present and just like assist them to take it out their mouth if necessary. And if you feel like it keeps going back in the mouth, that's fine. You can just say, okay, we're done with box now. It seems like we can't manage to not eat them. Close up the box and that's it. So now, this is great as a starting place, that initial invitation. And honestly, like even my 5-year-old, if I put a box out this size with crayons, he is for sure going to get in there. It's really, really inviting because of the size of the box and because of this idea that you're enclosed, which feeds into schematic play. We're going to talk a little bit more about that on the live on Thursday. But there's just a lot of age appropriateness invitation. So as opposed to something like this that for a 2-year-old it just looks so random because they're not familiar with the things, being inside a box is something that children may really, really be drawn to. So that would be the starting place. We'd start with some crayons. You may notice that they've colored and then they feel like they're done. So now you might want to extend by offering something new into the play mix. So I do have like a kind of rule that I stick to. It's a rule of thumb. So obviously use it according to your child, but I generally say that in terms of invitation, when we are thinking about how much to put in the original invitation, we want to stick to the number of items according to the child's number of years alive. So that would mean like for a 1-year-old, you might start with something that has one thing. Like there's more than one crayon, but it starts with just crayons. For a 2-year-old, you may want to start with 2 things from the beginning because you know that they're going to tire of just crayons pretty quickly. You may then for a 3-year-old want to add 3. Always just look at your child and see according to that how many you want to put. So the next thing that you could add, and this is great again for even a 1-year-old, is stickers. Stickers are amazing for fine motor control, and they're also just really fun. I wouldn't give a 1-year-old a big row of stickers like this. I would cut them so we have strips. It just feels a little bit more manageable. For a 1-year-old, even peeling off these 3 is going to be something that is quite challenging for them. Probably more around 18 months, they're going to be able to do this with a bit more ease. You could even take them off for them and stick them on their nose or stick them around the box so that they're easy for them to pull off. And then as they get older, you might want to extend that to being a few more stickers. You'll notice that these are quite big stickers and they're really easy to pull off. Then you could take it to something that is still pretty big, but I do want to show you here you can just peel off this border around the stickers it just makes it so much easier for your child to actually lift up the sticker. And again, I wouldn't give like a whole thing like this. For most kids, it's actually quite a lot, a full sheet of stickers. I would probably cut this in half for a 2 or 3 year old as well. And as you're growing up with that, there are these other kind of more fun stickers. Again, I would cut them in half. But you can see these are like these puffy stickers, which are actually, although they are stranger shapes, they are quite easy to lift for children. And these ones, these like sparkly kind of stickers, they often have a bit of a ridge around them, which is, it makes it easier, again, to lift up. So using that kind of idea according to your child's age, stickers are a great thing to throw in that box. Then as you're getting to around 2, you might want to extend this even further. You can see if this is something that you want to, perhaps you started with crayons and finished with the box for the day and you want to extend it and continue tomorrow. Or perhaps you haven't done crayons and you want to dive into some other types of materials from the beginning. Either one is fine. So markers are, these dot markers are a great thing for young children. They love it because you bang. So you have to bang quite hard to get the color out. And I find children, this is one of the first places that I start in terms of offering materials for younger children. These, of course, you will have to just watch that they're not putting them in their mouth because there is liquid in here. But you can also check on the packaging of wherever you're shopping if there are any toxic materials. But there are many options that aren't toxic as well. So the markers are great because they give that feedback. They're like bouncing with them, but they are a little bit messy. So this might be an example of something that, because you are in that nice box, you might want to do this in the nude or just with underwear or even with a bathing suit. And then you can really just take your child afterwards if they've gotten messy and lift them out the box and put them straight into the bathtub, which is exactly what I used to do. You might also want to extend that the box idea to something like watercolor paint. This is great if you're feeling nervous about jumping into paint because of it going in the mouth or because of your house turning into a paint fiasco. Water paints are a great way to start because they're washable and they don't leave a huge amount of color. So you would just put this in with some water and a paintbrush, and I can assure you your child would have so much fun. You may also want to think about finger paints around the age of 2. These again may be something that you're wanting to do in the nude, but they definitely they can, inside a box, get really fun. And now that you have the box, it's like a contained space, so you can feel more confident that your couch isn't going to turn into like rose pink. Okay, so those are our ideas up till about age 3. So we spoke about crayons, dot markers, stickers, watercolors. Now, after age 3, I think we see children really extending out their creativity, and that you can bring ideas that are more unique, more like engaging in terms of their curiosity, because their abilities just are a lot higher. So for I have one of my kids has just turned 3. I would think about doing something like putting some, this is, what is it called? Crinkle paper, and a stick for smudging glue, and then some wood glue or poster glue. That would be something that would absolutely engage her. You could also use just different pieces of cardstock and some scissors and let them make their own collage within the box. And at age 3, obviously, there's also a lot more confidence in the fact that they're not going to destroy your house. So it might be that they want to be in the box. It might be that they want to be outside the box, and that's also okay. It might be that they want to turn the box upside down and put another one and make it into a cake tower. But because they've had this practice, you will feel much more confident that they're not going to ruin your house. Another idea with that box, and I hope that you're seeing just the amazing potential of a box. And these are just my ideas. As your children grow into this and you allow them more opportunity, they will amaze you in terms of their ideas. Really amazing ideas. Okay, so this is another thing that you could possibly put out for maybe more towards like a 4-year-old, or depending how you feel with your child. So this is like a punch. You see? A punch. some ribbon, some scissors, and some tape. And you can kind of just leave that at that. It doesn't mean that you need to make an idea of this is going to be a pirate ship or this is going to be a boat or whatever, because this is based in process. If your child just punches holes and threads it through a few strings and that's it, that's totally fine, because it's a box, it's recyclable, you just pack it up afterwards, nothing is ruined. So whether you were going to be taking it to recycling that day or the next, I mean, you just take it the same way. And so I really hope that this has given you some ideas on playing with the box, and also thinking of it in terms of that inviting and then letting them extend their play. And also in terms of what art materials really work for younger children. Now, the next idea that I'm going to share was my go-to activity for such a long time. So I know that you're going to love it. I can't wait to show you. So this idea, we are in fact going to be going all out and really using paint. Now, the type of paint that I'm using here is tempera paint or poster paint. There are many washable and non-toxic options. If you search just in your local craft store or also on Amazon, you're going to find plenty of options. And I do want to encourage you that for the most part, this does come out. What we like to do whenever I'm doing painting is I got just a piece of fabric. I think this was like $3 or something. It's like an old denim. And I just always put this on the table just to safeguard the table. And then we have those like smocks from IKEA, but sometimes children don't like to wear them. They can be uncomfortable, especially if your child has any kind of sensory sensitivities. They may not love a smock. So an old t-shirt works great. And if you're in winter, you'll obviously need that it's a long sleeve so that it covers the underneath sleeves. But an old t-shirt, often just if you dedicate one of those shirts to paint and mud and all the rest of it, it can be a really easy entryway for you to feel confident that your child won't get full of paint. Now, if you feel intimidated by paint, I want to just ensure you that this idea is much like the box idea from the beginning, that it is pack-awayable and very contained. So, another recyclable. My bet is you have tons of these at home, egg cartons. We have done this, this play invitation, just 100 times, I think. There was a stage that we did it like every second or third day. Whenever we finished eggs, this is exactly where the cartons went to, because it is incredibly engaging. It has inside of it a lot of things that really attract young children. We're going to be doing color mixing. We're going to be having your own independent space. This kind of the way that your child would paint this uses some amazing wrist movements, which is really, really supportive of their motor development. And it also supports the development of the skill of painting from the right age. So I want to just show you here, I have a paint palette. If you think about like a traditional paint setup, it's very messy. If you think about a traditional paint setup, we would put different colors in here, and then a child would take the paint, carry it over to whatever their canvas is, and then paint, then wash it, then use another color, come back, carry it over without getting it too wet and all of that. That's like, it's pretty detailed, right? So I generally would say that that kind of painting is better for around a 3-year-old, especially if they're doing it alongside a sibling or something like that, and every color is getting mixed, and also just in terms of whatever paintbrushes or paints you're using. But this is so great because the point is to mix the colors. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our box and we are going to paint inside of it. So the paint is not going on a palette, it's going straight inside the box. So your kiddo can help you squeeze this in, or you can do it for them. And then you just need one brush. So this is staying inside of here. You might want to put some paper or a tablecloth down underneath, but this is not going to be all over your house. How I did this with my children when they were younger, and I honestly started with this at 1 year old, so you really can, is to use this as a time that they were seated at a table. I wouldn't put paint somewhere close to your couch or somewhere close to the place that you really don't want paint to be. So you could even take this and put this inside the bathtub and let your child, in their bathing suit, just do this painting, and then once it's done, close it up and let them have their bath. You could take this and put this inside that box that we did before. You could also give it to them while they're sitting at a high chair or while they're sitting at a table and you feel more confident that they're going to be staying there. And again, with everything that we're worried about mess, we need to just be intentional about setting the boundary right up front. So paintbrush stays on the table. Like, it is okay if they need to get up, but they need to go and wash their hands first, and the paintbrush stays on the table. It's not traveling around the house. So now within this, how your child will do it is however they want, right? Because it's process art. So it doesn't matter if they decide just to, they want to hold the box, or maybe they don't feel like painting straight away. Maybe they only want to paint one section. That's totally fine, because it doesn't have to end up being anything. But generally what kids will just naturally gravitate towards doing is firstly mixing all those colors, which is so fun. And a little tip here, I know in spring we have these wonderful pastel colors. So any kind of poster paint, if you add enough white to it, it is going to become like a pastel color. So we love those colors, and this is the invitation that I'm going to show you a little idea of doing something different with it at the end. So as you can see, this wrist movement of circling is fantastic. And if you're wanting that it doesn't turn all into brown, which again, it's process art, so it doesn't matter if it just turns all into brown, you just stick to colors that don't, when they mix, become brown. So if you're doing, I have here my 3 primary colors: yellow, red, and blue. So red and blue, if they go together, there's often going to be, if you mix all of these 3 colors together, there's often going to be some kind of a brown happening. So either choose red and blue, or yellow and red, or yellow and blue. So that's going to make you like all kinds of greens and light blues, yellows, that kind of thing. And then the white is like a great thing to have, because it adds a lot more texture to the colors and the experience. And this is so engaging for children, because young children especially are very, very interested in mixing colors, even before they know what colors are, like that they would be able to name colors. The fact that they get to do this mixing, it's really, really engaging for them. So once you are all finished, you may have something like this. See if you can see the color nicely. And now I'm going to show you a way that we can take this process art and turn it into something for grandma if you would want to. Again, that's not something that you have to do, and it's certainly, we want the process art to be much more about the process than the product, but this is something that they can also be a product. So I'm going to now cut these out. So as you saw there, I just cut it out, each individual compartment, and then made it into like a flower shape, and poked a hole in the bottom and threaded through a pipe cleaner, and you have a little flower. So as you get a few of these together, as you continue to cut these out, this is like a really sweet thing. My children have loved giving these to grandma, and you can also thread them with fairy lights or use them as a decoration for any kind of celebration. So I hope that you enjoyed that idea. It's definitely one that we loved, and it's a great way to use your egg boxes.